Four final questions. We'll go rapid fire here. They may not be rapid fire answers because they may be a little bit deeper. But the first question, in the simplest terms, if someone is listening right now and says, all right, I am inspired. I want to change something. I don't like the way it's going. Where do you start? Is it as simple as that? I know none of it's simple. Start with yourself, or is there a, I want to be healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to do this. I want to do that. Where does someone start? It's overwhelming because it's generally not just one thing.
So I always tell people, and I appreciate the question, I always tell people, but start with one thing. So if you say, I'm overweight, I want to get healthier, then make a decision to take a walk for 10 minutes every day. Do it 7 days a week. And when 10 minutes doesn't seem long enough and you're feeling great, then add 15, go to 20, but start with one thing. So many times people want to make all these changes. So they say, well, I'm going to go walk. I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to do this. And they try to do 10 things all at once. And a week into it, they've already failed and they give up again. So the answer is that simple. Start with one thing. When you've mastered that one little change, then make another change. If a pilot gets on the plane in Atlanta heading to LA and they just set the directive once, what's the chance they're ever going to get to LA? Unlikely, because the winds are going to turn them. And so that autopilot does corrections all the way for them to be able to land on the runway at LAX. Us as human beings, we've got to make these little tiny changes. Don't make a big change, make a little tiny change. Because just if, using the pilot analogy, if the pilot set the GPS or whatever system they used in the airplane, the avionics, to be 1 degree off from LA, within that 4.5-hour flight, they're going to end up in San Francisco, or maybe even further north than San Francisco. It's crazy. But in our lives, we set a path sometimes, and we expect to not have to correct it. Or we set a path that seems to be so big that it's overwhelming. And yeah, in a few days, we're overwhelmed. And so we sit back and we let it fall again. Start with one thing.
Second question, as we round the bases, I told you when we met that I've got Canadian roots, very proud of them. And as a kid would go up only once a summer to Montreal, and got family in Toronto now and all over. So I love when the Kansas City Royals go to Toronto. We'll be there in September. It's one of my favorite cities. It's beautiful. I love the diversity. What do you miss most about Canada? You've been in the States forever.
Yeah, I came to the United States actually in 2006. Living in Georgia, and I told somebody yesterday, actually a Canadian prospective student and her mom, who are from the Toronto area, came to visit, and I had breakfast with them yesterday. And I said, what you're going to love about Georgia is that the people here are just like the Canadians. They're so friendly. Mm. And so I would tell you, I don't really miss very much. I miss my, I have 2 children that still live there that are married with 2 children each. So I have 4 grandkids there. I have 2 sisters that still live there. So I miss some of my people, but I don't miss living there. I very much live in the present. I am where I am. That's where I live in the moment. Same thing if somebody said to me, what's your favorite city in the world? You've traveled all over the globe. I said, wherever I am. And my present time consciousness ability, again, taught to me by a mentor, the concept of present time consciousness is to be with who you are when you're with them, and to be 100% dedicated to that conversation or that interaction or that relationship. And then when you're done temporarily, then move on to the next thing. So for example, before getting on with you, my cell phone got turned off. I'm sitting in my office now at my conference table. My phone got turned off. My door got closed, the sign's there, my computer's off. I have no distractions while I'm with you, because you right now and your audience are the most important people in my life in this moment.
In this day and age of attention spans, that is an incredibly powerful thing to be able to do. I don't want to get off track too long here, but I started doing some of these TikToks, which sounded silly to me at first, and I'm not doing silly dances and all of that. Anyone that knows me knows I don't dance, period, let alone for a camera. But I've been trying to take people behind the scenes, just a little bit of a peek behind the scenes at different stadiums. And so I get why people would find that fascinating. But what I noticed is if I go over a minute, people don't watch it. And if I go like 40 seconds, the analytics show that the average watch time is 20 something seconds. So my only point to that is that in a day and age where attention span is so poor, there's a competitive advantage when you actually can give somebody your time because you're doing something most people don't.
Absolutely. Present time consciousness. My mentor always used to say, you got to focus on PTC, PTC, PTC. He used to repeat that until, people just got it. It's like, if you're with me, he said, be present. He said, I was talking to you. Your eyes looked at the woman walking down the hallway. You weren't present with me. And of course, you get scolded for that. So learn to be present.
Oh, all right. Third question as we round the bases. I was reading a little blip that you don't listen to music when you're working out or you're outdoors. That you're more present. This is again being present with nature and the surroundings. Tell me about that because I've got to imagine that's a very peaceful and powerful thing for you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said to you earlier, when I'm on the track, I'm usually early in the morning, and I love nature. So if you have an opportunity to come visit Life University someday, you'll see it's 110 beautiful, pristine acres, trees, rolling hills. And so I'm paying attention to a potential message that I would receive from God in the middle of nature while I'm working out. So I pay attention to the birds. I see a leaf flying. I see the tree moving. So I'm present in the consciousness of my environment. Always reflecting, because I start my workout first on the ground on a yoga mat, and I'll do probably like a 5-minute meditation, and then I'll do my stretching. But I'm always just wanting to be open to what's out there, because often, believers or not, often those who believe, you ask God for help, but you don't take the time to listen when the answer comes. So I take that time to just be open to the environment and to also be fully aware of what's happening in my body. Like, what are my feet feeling like? What are my legs feeling like when I'm doing 100-meter repeat sprints? Or today I did a 400 meters with a 5-minute break 8 times. So I ran a 400-meter sort of half out, took a 5-minute break. I ran another one, 5-minute break, another one, 5-minute break. And so I want to be aware of how my body is responding to my workout, because my next meet's on Saturday in just a few days. So how did my body respond? And I noticed that when I did the 6th one, I had a little bit of a tension on the outer part of my left quad. I was like, okay, so that is a potential for injury. So instead of taking a 5-minute break, I took a 7-minute break and I restretched it and I tested it. I was like, okay, I'm good to go. And I did my 7th one, felt a little tiny twinge. I did that again. I took an 8-minute break and I did the last one, and I ran the fastest 400 meter that I ran today was my 8th one. But I was fully aware. I was fully aware of what my body was sensing. So if you're listening to me, I love music, but if you're listening to music while you're doing that, you can't be hearing the music and paying attention to everything else. That's my position.
Yeah, no, very interesting. Okay, last one, the walk-off question. I know you've got this competitive bug in you now, very clearly. It is one of the big rocks in your life, and I think feeds into taking care of yourself too. So let's imagine that you're stepping on the national or the international stage. You and I talked about this a little bit at 70 years old and competing, which I fully expect that you're going to do. What would that mean to you?
Well, I'll tell you, I have my eyes fixed on the World Athletic Championships in Gothenburg, Sweden, in March of 2025. I will be 70, which means I'll be competing in that age group. I already see myself medaling, bronze, silver, or gold. I don't really care. I don't have a focus necessarily on the gold. The competition internationally is pretty stiff, but I see myself medaling, and I believe that becomes a newsworthy story, to tell the story of a terminal diagnosis in 2003 where I'm supposed to be dead in 2005, and 20 years later, winning a medal at the World Championship. And I want to be able to tell the chiropractic story from that perspective, because the only thing I changed in my life as of the 15th of May, 2004, was I got my first adjustment on the 16th of May, but I got my exam on the 15th of May. So I'd say the change I made on May 16th, 2004, was I get checked by a chiropractor at least once a week, every single week. I didn't change my prayer habits, my meditation habits, my dietary habits. All of that was already clean. I was already a water drinker as my favorite drink. I already ate, good meals every single day. I cook my own, I cook food every single day. We eat out once in a while, but pretty rarely. So the only thing I changed in my life, starting on the 16th of May, is that I got regular care by the same chiropractor wherever I live. Of course, I lived up north. Then I moved to Dallas, Texas for 6 years, and I'm in Atlanta. And literally, my chiropractor is right across this wall in the next suite of offices, beyond mine with an outside entrance. So I was in there today and I got checked and adjusted by my chiropractor. So that's why I want to do that. I'm not doing this really for Gilles, though I will tell you that the experience of regular training has had a profound mind, body, spirit experience for me. Like my body feels fitter than I felt in years. My mind is clear. I mean, I can produce like fantastic work. I have no difficulty with concentration, doing what needs to get done, managing multiple projects all at once, communing with multiple people, like literally all over the globe about different projects I'm working on. And a lot of it I owe to the fact that I've been that physically, mentally, and spiritually active. So how can I tell that story and give people hope? All right. So if you think back to my purpose statement, I have one goal right now. I have one goal to give people hope.
Well, you're doing that. You did that on this podcast, and you'll do it on whatever you have coming up after this podcast, and on, because I know that it is your purpose. It's a powerful one. I've loved every minute of this, and I will tell you now that when we got on that phone call that first time, and you said, I don't know why we're meeting, and I said, I don't either, although I have some ideas. I have a better idea now of why. I look forward to, I'm motivated from this conversation, and I didn't know everything that you were going to say. I'm motivated to hopefully get on another call with you selfishly and just catch up and learn more from you, because it's a connection that I absolutely feel, and I'm so grateful to Michelle for the introduction. I want to let everybody know, if you want to learn more about Gilles and everything that he's doing. I mean, he's written double-digit amount of books, and he's got a podcast, and I could go on and on. The website has it all, with a great line on the front too. You can choose the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The choice is yours. It's drgilleslamarche.com. If you're not quite good with the spelling of a French name, the website will be in the show notes. It's very easy to do. But Gilles, thank you so much for spending all the time, for inspiring. I know so many people, and your purpose is, I could feel it. I could feel every bit of it. So thank you so much for doing this today.
My pleasure. And you've got my cell number. It was in my signature panel in the email that I sent you. So yeah, you want to connect, get on the phone or get on a Zoom call, whatever. I'm here for you anytime. Open to continue this conversation, continue this friendship, and this brotherhood that we're now part of. And again, you're invited to come and visit Life anytime. You don't need a hotel room when you come here if you don't want one. We've got a beautiful home, literally 6 miles from the university. And we're always willing to have awesome guests at our house.
I love it. Thank you. And I do know this much: the Royals are at the Atlanta Braves next year. So I already know when I'm going to be in your neck of the woods. So that is a must do in terms of, I'm going to go look at the schedule as soon as we get off, but I know that we're in Atlanta next year, if not sooner for some reason. So Gilles, thanks again so much. And I look forward to our phone call.
It was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much, Joel.